In a world where humanity faces supernatural threats from the underworlders, a group of superhumans led by Seo MoonYeob rises to protect humanity. After their victorious battle, Seo MoonYeob is presumed dead. Years later, as South Korea struggles in a battlefield competition, the nation grapples with the shock of defeat. At the same time, Seo MoonYeob's surprising return rekindles hope and sets the stage for a thrilling new chapter of events. The story continues with the long-awaited and electrifying moment in the world of superhuman battlefield sports, a moment that sends ripples of excitement through the crowd as Seo MoonYeob takes center stage as a player in the game. Despite being a charity match, this event captivates the audience, and even renowned battlefield celebrities are among the spectators, as players are about to turn charity into a thrilling showdown that will leave everyone on the edge of their seats. The first game occurs in As a Spiral Cave, a dungeon divided into 3 circles with an underground pathway. The dungeon is populated by various creatures, including arachnids, skeletons, and serpents. 10 minutes before the commencement of the match between teams Love and Hope, Baek Ji-ho outlines the strategy that will be employed. Baek Ji-ho's strategy is like a chess grandmaster's opening move. The starting points for the match are Area 5 for Team Hope and Area 1 for Team Love. Team Hope plans to hunt in Area 5-1 before moving to Area 5-2, with ongoing hunting there. Meanwhile, Seo MoonYeob will launch into Area 5-3 to confront the boss alone, owing to his ability to handle the area boss. Following the boss's defeat, chaos will ensue in Area 5, allowing Team Hope to synchronize their hunting with the unfolding situation. While most players agree with the strategy, some doubt Seo MoonYeob's capability to defeat the serpent alone, given that formidable teams typically deploy 3 members to face it. Baek Ji-ho proceeds with his strategic overview, detailing that their team will subsequently clear Area 6 and progress towards the innermost circle. There, they might encounter the opposing team. However, in such an encounter, Baek Haeun, Seo MoonYeob, and Baek Ji-ho will collaborate to hold back the opponents. While it's clear that the trio is strong in more minor battles, not everyone agrees. Seo MoonYeob thinks they'd ensure their team's victory if they just went the 11 versus 11 strategy. Nonetheless, he advises utilizing this opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of the battlefield and avoiding undue hustle in the initial stage. The Hope team enters the storage area, and Baek Ji-ho swiftly issues orders to his units, directing them to their assigned positions. Baek Haeun and Baek Ji-ho position themselves defensively while Seo MoonYeob and Choi Hyuk, being advanced tanks, took attacking positions. Without delay, they begin their hunt. Conversely, team leader Chae Woo-yeon coordinates his squad's efforts to hunt arachnids at the starting point in Team Love's one-on-one. However, Shim Young-soo, a team member and the dealer player, grows increasingly annoyed with Chae Woo-yeon's directive. Shim Young-soo displays madness at Seo MoonYeob's heroic reputation and vows to kill him. Seo MoonYeob didn't even pay heed to him and asked for his duo, Baek Ji-ho. So they confront the arachnids in attack mode, drawing the audience's attention. These extraordinary arachnids pose a stern challenge because of their sheer numbers, yet the Seo MoonYeob and Baek Ji-ho's combined efforts swiftly overcome them. The audience becomes thrilled by witnessing their prowess. Seo MoonYeob marvels at everyone's remarkable movements, recognizing that these monsters have relatively low HP, but are known for their intense scorching, making their easy defeat surprising. Suddenly, Choi, the superpower player, realizes everyone must harness their abilities. He positions himself as instructed earlier and utilizes his superpower, focusing on aura. It's his first time using a shield, and he's still adjusting. He channels aura into his weapons, allowing him to not only enhance his sword but also employ it as a shield when attacking and defending, emphasizing the need for accuracy and concentration on his weapon. Seo MoonYeob couldn't contain his fighting spirit as he observed Choi's improved skills. Despite this, he continued his hunt, showcasing his signature technique. The Moro brothers in the audience eagerly recognized his signature move and admired his mainstream 100-centimeter thrust with Shuren. This move, though it appeared as a simple spear stab, was, in fact, a technique utilizing his superpower, enabling him to throw the spear at incredible speed toward the target before catching it again just 100 centimeters from his hand. The result was an unbelievably swift thrust that seemed deceptively casual, a skill sanded over years of combat experience. Amidst the chaos in the arena, a fan yelled, "Seo MoonYeob's thrust is so fast, even time itself is asking for his autograph." However, Seo MoonYeob's momentary lapse in concentration proved costly when a beast attacked him from behind, but he swiftly ended his presence and Area 5-1 was cleared. The Hope team regrouped and Baek Ji-ho instructed them to proceed to Area 52. Suddenly, they realized Seo MoonYeob was missing. A team member explained that he had rushed off to clean up Area 53 as planned. Baek Ji-ho reassured the team, acknowledging that despite Seo MoonYeob's impulsiveness, he did consider his actions. As Team Hope moved towards Area 52, in Area 53, Seo MoonYeob faced a colossal boss, a serpent, a creature he had once defeated in a real battle. When the boss serpent attacked, he slid beneath it. As the serpent turned his course, Seo MoonYeob aimed it at its neck and swiftly struck it with his spear. His spear's lightning-fast strike promptly brought down the boss serpent. Team Hope arrives in the final room only to discover that Seo MoonYeob defeated the serpent himself and is sitting atop it like Hercules over the Hydra. Seo MoonYeob explains to everyone that the system makes a player stronger based on how many monsters and players they kill, with low aura being signified at blue and stronger auras at white. So, he tells everyone they can clean the serpent that remains up like that while he takes Baek Ji-ho and Baek Hae-yeon with him because he has a plan. He is definitely up to some tomfoolery. Seo MoonYeob takes the father-daughter duo and rushes towards the hunting grounds of the opponent team. The three are taking the detour to face as few monsters as possible so that they do not alert the enemy forces. Seo MoonYeob thinks that killing the serpent took him only one shot, and that although the battlefield has the hunting points system implemented, their total points still should not be that high, considering they only killed a few arachnids. On top of that, his aura color is still blue, the lowest of the 5 stages. Baek Ji-ho calls out Seo MoonYeob from the back, asking for further orders. Seo says he definitely has something in mind regarding the kid that acts like Shuren. Shim Young-soo, the guy with decent firepower but the trash mentality of a 5-year-old. At Area 12, Team Love has secured their position. Shim Young-soo is contemplating attacking Seo MoonYeob while everyone else plans on moving to the next area. As Shim is deep within his thoughts, a spear is shot at him from a distance. It is our hero in shining armor again. Chaos spreads in the enemy ranks as they have been ambushed by the enemy. On the left, it is the Seo MoonYeob, Baek Ji-ho, and Baek Hae-yeon trio, while on the right, they have the rest of Team Hope attacking them. Team Love is sandwiched in between, with the only way to escape them being killed. The initial strategy for Team Hope was to approach the enemy from the opposite side and to be careful since they were all national representatives, as advised by Seo MoonYeob, and fight them all till their dying breaths. And thus, the onslaught is about to begin. Baek Ji-ho is standing atop a shield held by Seo MoonYeob, and he blames Seo for flopping the procedure, which is why the attack was blocked at the end. But then, Seo begins to throw Ji-ho in between the enemy ranks, so he catapults in with all his might. The Team Love captain, Chae Woo-yeon, tells everyone to change tactics as 5 members will go to Area 9 and 6 will go to Area 11. So, all of them begin to move out to somehow save themselves from being isolated in a worse-off world. In Area 9, Team Love begins to clear out against the monsters, and Shim Young-soo's aura turns purple here as he gets stronger with time due to the system. But little do they know, from the distance, Seo MoonYeob is aiming for them with his spear, like a sniper waiting for its next target, while Baek Ji-ho is charging at them head-on. They think his target is Shim Young-soo, but they lose focus, and Ji-ho teleports to eradicate the tanks. The dude is still killing it at over 50. Hell yeah. They try to attack Baek Ji-ho, but the hidden attacker is killed by Seo MoonYeob. His teleportation cooldown is active, so Baek Ji-ho cannot run away that easily for now. So Baek Hae-yeon grabs him with her lasso and throws him back into safety, and he finally teleports back to Seo MoonYeob. Seo MoonYeob asks Baek Ji-ho about the thrill of this match, and he feels it. And with this attack, the enemy tanks have been dealt with, so all of it now comes down to a 3 versus 3 match. It is the unholy trinity versus the tantrum trifecta now. Seo MoonYeob marks Shim Young-soo for his 1 versus 1 battle as he calls his teammates to care for the other 2 players besides Shim. The commentators praised this excellent strategy as their feints were terrific because they killed their tanks in the process, and the clean exit after that of Baek Ji-ho made it even better. And that spear throw from Seo MoonYeob to save Baek Ji-ho from getting annihilated was also phenomenal. Spears and Seo MoonYeob are making him the Roman Reigns of this world. Meanwhile, Seo MoonYeob plans to throw Baek Ji-ho again in the match. With Baek Ji-ho and Baek Hae-yeon all in for the attack, they eradicate both the enemy players except Shim Young-soo. Shim Young-soo, frustrated and scared, is now confronted by Seo MoonYeob. He hits Shim in the face with his shield and throws him to the ground. asking if he is done complaining now. And with a final slash, he kills the rich little brat. The satisfaction is oh so reasonable from this scene. Team Love's final group of 6 is also surrounded and on the brink of death. Their teammates cannot believe that they got killed this quickly. Like cornered tigers, they try to attack with all their might to gain an advantage. They boost their morale by calling themselves the national representatives. One of them aims for Choi Hyuk, who only recalls all the basics taught him earlier in the day by Seo MoonYeob. He blocks on time and then swings his sword with perfect timing too. His sturdy defense confuses his enemy, as he has never played as a tank. The enemy attacker tries to strike again, and he almost has his way with things as Choi Hyuk almost stumbles and falls down. But Seo MoonYeob intervenes at the very last second and kills the adversary. No one is getting their way with the favorite kid of Seo himself. The trident of Team Hope is finally here. Seo MoonYeob shows up with a big grin, only optimistic about moving to the next game. The first set finally ends with Team Hope coming out victorious, and the MVP is the national head coach, Baek Ji-ho, who knew Brittle Bones still had it in him. In the locker room, everyone appreciates his efforts and play style just because he played so well. Baek Ji-ho himself is definitely flattered by all this. He feels that although playing Battlefield at this age is embarrassing, wielding a weapon after 17 years sure is fun. The primal instincts for sure kicked in. But he credits everything to playing the Seo MoonYeob, since he is the one who unleashes his inner beast. The second dungeon is finally announced. It is the Labyrinth of the Dead, and many players have lost their lives in this dungeon before Seo MoonYeob invaded it and closed it down forever. Meanwhile, Seo MoonYeob is agitated by the number of weirdos he repeatedly encounters as if it's a merry-go-round. Weird reporters who keep comparing him with other players, those cultists who never left him, and rich god-complex kids like Shim Young-soo, as they either doubt or praise his skills. But at the end of the day, he will showcase his skills to everyone out there. However, it will be much more terrifying this time than the last round. Before the match begins, Baek Ji-ho briefs the team about the plan. Seo MoonYeob interrupts and tells him that he will be moving alone in this match, as he still remembers the internal structure of the Labyrinth from the last raid a year ago. Along with that, he still has a map. Baek Ji-ho trusts him as no one knows this place better than him. He tells him to be prepared for a surprise as Seo MoonYeob is taking it seriously this time. So, he immediately rushes into the dungeon. Baek Hae-um is concerned about Seo and his safety, but Baek Ji-ho assures her that his decision-making skills are second to none, as he is moving with a plan here. A sudden tension overcomes Ji-ho, too, as you never know what that NEET might be up to. Seo MoonYeob zooms through the dungeon only to be met by the dungeon skeletons, and after a brief battle with a small battalion of them, he eradicates the enemies and moves on ahead. Also, the Labyrinth has a unique feature that the gravity is 10 times wherever there are no stairs or floor to stand upon. Anyone who is not familiar with the layout of the maze will definitely send an invitation letter to the Grim Reaper. What if one uses the given features properly? One can easily use them to create a fantastic shortcut to the enemy routes. With that said, Seo MoonYeob lands in front of the enemies as if lurking right on top of them from the beginning. The match has not even commenced for 10 minutes and Seo MoonYeob has already scared the little babies from Team Love. He threatens the team that he has already checked their levels during the first match, so we should know they are as good as fertilizer for the trees. Chae Woo-yeon tells his team not to panic and to only retreat for now. They are shocked that he is attacking them all solo. Nonetheless, they retreat to reform their battle lines and form better strategies to counter him. Seo MoonYeob knows that the call to retreat is the only choice the enemy is left with, as charging straight at him would have led to their deaths anyway. So, he decides to toy with them a little more, and thus begins another round between the Giant and the Jacks. He uses Eyes of Analysis to determine which person to attack and kills the one with the slightest chance to dodge. In the meantime, everyone else escapes in this gap of time. Now he only looks up and knows where to ambush them from. Team Love has successfully retreated and is doing quick maintenance. There is jeopardy regarding various decisions in the camp, such as how his attack was so quick, and that they should have attacked him early instead of retreating, with everyone yapping their own crap. But from now on, they must always keep their guard up, since he can ambush them again. And speaking of the devil, Seo MoonYeob stands in the middle of nowhere, looking down into nothingness. Maybe he is planning his next move. After some waiting and calculations, he deduces that their place of regrouping should be right somewhere he expects them to be. Although there is a 50% chance of hitting them, he still takes it because he is a huge gambler in the rough. Seo MoonYeob charges his spear and shoots it downwards like Zeus attacking an unfortunate mortal from his pantheon. The gloomy team only watches as these death spears obliterate another one of their teammates. Everyone is shocked at this attack from nowhere. The commentators go wild as they witness something that has never happened before. But now everyone has witnessed the most outstanding kill ever in the history of the Korean battlefield. That too at the hands of the man, the myth, the legend, Seo MoonYeob. Masked as the Grim Reaper himself, Seo MoonYeob sends 2 players to the underworld. Shim Young-soo, being the brat he is, tries to make everyone fight Seo MoonYeob head-on, as he is fighting alone against them. The rich crybaby is now wetting his pants, so he needs Seo MoonYeob out of the picture. His leader then reminds him to calm down or else Seo MoonYeob will play with him even more severely because, in his eyes, they are nothing more than playthings. The fear is prominent as Seo MoonYeob is stomping on them as if they are ants, as they can't devise any further plan. During all this infighting between Team Love, Seo MoonYeob watches from the shadows above and thinks of another way to strike down Shim Young-soo with an attack. Shim is thinking of attacking Seo with anything besides the aura-hungry explosion sphere. Nonetheless, out of the blue with rage in his eyes, Shim Young-soo turns and shoots a fireball like a thunderbolt towards Seo MoonYeob. There's a glimmer in his eyes, but Seo MoonYeob dodged that attack as he is not making rookie mistakes here. Now, Seo MoonYeob shows up ahead of Team Love as if some Indian hero coming out of a vile scene. He mocks Shim that he fell for his noise-making tactic to make him notice Seo. He further smokes him by calling him even worse of a player. Maybe his acting is even worse than Chuck Norris. Shim Young-soo stands in awe as Seo MoonYeob blocks his attack, but he only tends to remember that due to his strength and superpowers and immense aura, he became the core dealer of the national team and is standing in his current position. So, with this incident dusted, Team Love decides to catch out Seo MoonYeob by dividing into teams of 6 and 3. The 6 will hunt, while the 3 will chase Seo MoonYeob. They'd further plan to go through the western path as if they are going to attack Team Hope, but instead, they will be attacking Seo MoonYeob as per the plan. Smarty pants, indeed, as even Seo MoonYeob should have a hard time dealing with 3 dealers simultaneously. They might still be underestimating that vile shit-talker. Once the hunting points are enough for Team Love, they will join the dealers to finish off Seo MoonYeob. They really think that it is a walk in the park. Huh. So, Team Love begins to move and execute their tactics, but to no avail, as their movements are way more predictable than a one-sided die. Seo MoonYeob, waiting for the team to show up at the exact location, finally attacks them. And for him, this team is nothing more than disappointing. Seo MoonYeob charges in and attacks the 3 dealers of Team Love. He is exhilarated to attack. And with that said, the onslaught of the crybabies from the national team begins. 1, 2, 3, and all the 3 dealers sent towards MoonYeob are eating dirt cakes now. They hug the Grim Reaper goodnight. With only 6 players remaining now, Seo MoonYeob plans on eradicating those roaches, too. From the outside, the crowd only looks shocked at his power since he killed national representatives like sliding a knife through butter. Everyone only thinks of the what-if scenarios and that he ever gets to play Battlefield against the current players. How big of a menace he might become. Shurin looks astonished, too, as she's only left speechless by the current show of power from Seo MoonYeob. In the dungeon, his aura turns red after all those significant kills. His team decides to meet up, but he assures them it will probably be over before they get to Area 3-1, where he is. So, with that done, he moves ahead like a man with a resolve to fight again against their adversary. Seo MoonYeob charges toward Team Love with a rather nefarious look in his eyes. They try not to panic, but who are they kidding? They might have already wet their pants again. So, they deploy a formation against Seo MoonYeob, which stops Seo momentarily, and in the blink of an eye, he is surrounded from all sides as a last-ditch attempt by Team Love. Seo MoonYeob uses Eyes of Analysis on the person about to attack him, and although that player has the ability of instant acceleration, but his brain is still not as fast as his body, he is still a failure after all this, and that marks the 6th kill for Seo MoonYeob. Team Love asks Shim Young-soo to fire his explosion sphere quickly, so he also does that, and with the smoke blocking his view. Jinhyun goes in to ambush Seo MoonYeob, but all of this is to no avail, as he kills off Jinhyun without breaking a sweat, and now his kill count is up to 7. The entirety of Team Love looks at Seo MoonYeob in shock and helplessness. Seo is moving ahead like a man possessed. His aura instantly changes to a more bloodthirsty one, and Seo strikes again, confirming his 8th and 9th kills, leaving the final battle to a 2 versus 1 fight, where Seo MoonYeob is up against the final surviving trash of Team Love. Using eyes of analysis makes him see that Chae Woo-yeon has an excellent ability to slow others down, but nonetheless, it is still garbage. Chae Woo-yeon tells Shim Young-soo that he will handle the fight against Soo, but the next instant, Soo also shoots and impales Chae to death, leaving only the helpless Shim Young-soo within the vicinity of Seo MoonYeob. He might as well start crying, considering the situation he's in about to be killed and not need the afterlife. Seo MoonYeob starts approaching Shim. He inches gradually toward the scared, rich brat, and the very next second, Soo smashes his shield into his face, catapulting the blondie scaredy cat into the wall in the distance, thus leading Seo MoonYeob to his 11th and final kill. Everyone is shaken, as in the history of the Korean battlefield. This is the first time a single player has single-handedly spanked the opponent team this badly. With unbelievable scenes at the stadium here, Seo MoonYeob has soloed the entire national team as if he were fighting against some middle schoolers. Absolutely phenomenal. The crowd, commentators, and the internet are going wild over what happened, and everyone knows that it is indeed Seo MoonYeob's world, and we are living in it. As Team Hope emerges from the gaming mechanisms, Seo MoonYeob looks at a drone camera and asks Baek Ji-ho what it is. Seoki answers that it broadcasts the footage through its camera. And considering the nasty little bastard Soo is, he does not hesitate to show his middle finger to the world. Baek Ji-ho grabs his immature little self and pulls Seo MoonYeob away to the MVP interview. At the interview, the caster, Lee Yami, starts asking them questions one by one, beginning with Baek Ji-ho, the MVP of the first round. He says that he did not expect to perform this well, plus he got dragged here by Seo MoonYeob, thus he had to train in a hurry, but still got lucky. But still, his body kept up with the current battles due to past experiences. The old man can still play some matches for real. The caster now shifts towards Seo MoonYeob. She praises his efforts in the second set. He then asks if the team wipe was on his mind from the start. Without any hesitation, he agrees and says that it is easy, like the boss he is. So he took the first set quickly to get the hang of the game. Furthermore, she asks him if he has any advice for the players of Team Love, so he opens up his Bible regarding the mismatching attributes and positions for the team. He takes a cold hit at the head coach, Baek Ji-ho. For not understanding them correctly, he also blames the system's overall structure for this horrendous defeat. The curator further asks him if he wants to lead them. He calls them garbage, and it might not be that fun to lead them anyway. But he might change his decision under varying circumstances, considering he is a dirty, money-hungry bastard. Baek and Soo are traveling together in a car. Seo MoonYeob does not know where they are going, so asks Baek Ji-ho. He replies that they are going to an after-party, and Baek Hae-in has left for that place already. He has a drama to watch, but Ji-ho insists that he drops it for today. Come on, leave your dramas for once and enjoy life for a sec. So now, the real talk begins. Ji-ho asks Soo that he initially denied involving himself with Battlefield, but now he might do it. He replies that he is only a teacher and not a player. He takes a hit at Baek Ji-ho, saying that being the head coach does not fit him. He replies that it was peer pressure that made him do it. Considering he spent 11 years together with Seo MoonYeob in the dungeons, some of his greatness might have transferred to Baek himself, but obviously, it was not as easy as a USB file transfer. But still, that was not the case. Although another of their teammates, Emrakasa, was inspired by Seo MoonYeob and even became a great coach. The same did not go for Baek Ji-ho. Seo MoonYeob only states that the country needs a proper instructor. He insists that if paid handsomely, he might as well become the skills coach. Now he gives some additional tips to Baek Ji-ho for the national team. First of all, to bring in Choi Hyuk as a tank into the team. Secondly, to use Yoo Byuk-ho as the final trump card for the team. Thirdly, to put Chae Woo-yeon as the rear guard sub-tank. And lastly, to kick out that rich spoiled brat, son of the vice president, Shim Young-soo, out of the team. Although he has power and aura, his mentality is trashy and cannot even compare to a child's. Team Love lost both matches due to Shim being a whiny-ass baby. So, they decided to replace Shim Young-soo with Choi Hyuk, as he would definitely be the better choice at the end of the day. After this advisory session, he tells Baek Ji-ho to tell the president to prepare an excellent salary if he wants to hire Seo MoonYeob. The bombastic duo finally arrives at the Hunter's Hotel. Seo MoonYeob walks into the ballroom and Baek Hae-in runs towards him in delight. She tells him about the fantastic alcohol and vodka at the party. Considering these are the favorite drinks of Seo MoonYeob, she learned to drink them as well. A drunkard's parade all around. With that done, Soo is approached by Jake Land, a superhuman agent from the European battlefield. Now, as the main hero for everyone, Seo MoonYeob is in the hall. All eyes are on him. Agents from all around are here to recruit him for their purposes. Pelman wants to initiate, but his secretary stops him from doing so, as a direct approach with a contract would seem odd. However, Pelman thinks oddly about this confrontation. Jake Lan gives his card to Seo MoonYeob and instantly leaves after a small conversation. Maybe he was shy, who knows? Baek Hae-yeon is mesmerized that Seo MoonYeob can speak English fluently, although he dropped out of middle school to hunt in dungeons as a teenager. He proclaims that he picked up English from the natives while traveling worldwide. She gets annoyed at him, thinking Sue would be as bad as her in her studies, to which he only mocks her here, since he is the less stupid of the two. Seeing from a distance, Pelman again decides to make a move, but the Moro brothers instantly rush in and introduce themselves to Seo MoonYeob. Baek Hae-yeon tells Sue that they ended their weapons business and now are the Paris Lumiere Battlefield Club owners. And on top of that, they have the best team in the world, with Nathan Bernard on their team. Seo MoonYeob asks the brother if they are here to scout him, and they simultaneously say no, just because they know his nature regarding this matter. But they are here to recruit Baek Hae-yeon after her recent change to melee dealer. She has become a phenomenal player. And if she sharpens her sword skills and physical strength, she can even play on their team. Seo MoonYeob only feels joyous as their assessment is on point, so they lay down another foundation. If Seo MoonYeob joins them, it will be another plus point. As the unholy trinity of Nathan Bernard, Baek Hae-yeon, and Seo MoonYeob would spread the fire everywhere. Sue only says he will think about it if he ever becomes a player. So, the brothers decide to make the perfect contract for that day. And due to their die-hard fangirling over Seo MoonYeob, they give him a primary weapon he can use anywhere. With that said, he accepts the offer, and the brothers take their leave too. Like an introverted recluse, he starts getting tired from all this interaction. So, Sue and Hae-yeon proceed to drink some vodka, only to be interrupted by Yang Ming, the presidential secretary of the Blue House. The Korean Trump is finally sending his men. Yang Ming asks Seo MoonYeob if he is aware of the Superhuman merit system, as it is where superhumans who gain merit receive a monthly pension from the government. And since Seo MoonYeob has not received his pension for over 17 years, they pay him an accumulated amount of $2,568,000 without tax. Seo MoonYeob just turned into a millionaire in the blink of an eye. Bill Gates better be scared of this new product. Yang Ming reveals that they plan to give him the pension Seo MoonYeob has not received for the last 17 years. After hearing this amount, he starts calculating all of the money he has received up till now. Compensation from the association, the fees from Walker, etc. Now, Joe Pelman finally decides to make his move. He formally introduces himself. But Seo MoonYeob is tired of all these agents and tells him to turn away. But he tells Sue that he has only one thing to say. He addresses that even though the world might be a bit foreign to him, and that although he saved the world, he still lost 17 years, and his only area of work also disappeared after that. From now onwards, Joe Pelman is renamed as Joe Fellman. But all of these issues will be solved as time passes, as time is the best healer. Fellman really sounds like a therapist here, huh? Maybe more like an American Marcus Aurelius with all that philosophy. So he tells Sue to not waste his life slouching, and if he ever hits his zenith again out of this life of laziness, he can contact Fellman anytime that he wants. With that done, he gives him his card. Fellman leaves and is anxious about whether he said the right things. Seo MoonYeob is only curious that he was one weird bastard. Baek Hae-yeon explains that he is a major tycoon within the American League and that they call him the money demon there. His fame took off after he took a lot of Korean superhumans for Battlefield in its early days. Seo MoonYeob is surprised that someone money-oriented only spewed nonsense and nothing about money. Baek Hae-yeon further tells him that he also tried to recruit Baek Ji-ho back in his days, but he also declined during those times. Now, at the center of the event, the donation ceremony finally begins. The announcer calls the highest innate Tor, Seo MoonYeob, onto the stage for this feat. It is further explained that his dying wish was adequately carried out, and Baek Ji-ho took it upon himself to donate his $1,740 million worth of assets to charity. Considering his worth was over $1 billion, he still got excited over the uncollected $2.5 million, which is funny. He should have asked for a refund. On the stage, he further proclaims that he is painted as a hero who saved the world and how he made a noble sacrifice for humanity. But deep down, he has a never-ending love for the dungeons and never wants them to end in the first place. So, he does not feel that proud of this title. But the only thing that makes him proud is that the children helped by this money would live as proper adults, which is way better than saving the earth. He wishes for all the children to live a happier life than his. As he walks off the stage, he is met by the Korean Association president, who takes a shot at him by saying he is covering up his reckless actions with the donated money. Seo MoonYeob tries to justify this through his misfortunate childhood. Typical manipulator story, though. Although their conversation gets confusing for a second, they get to the point. The president tells him he should not have obliterated the national team like that in the charity match. The president says that it was a mistake to organize this match. He is all tensed up that a single player destroyed all the Korean battlefield efforts like this by toying with the national team. On top of that, the government does not even fund the association that much, to which Seo MoonYeob only says that it is his fault for their bad gameplay. Just because, in the past, Seo MoonYeob misbehaved and harmed everyone in the National Assembly and the Blue House, and that really turned into the talk of the town everywhere. His hands and mouth both are really active in all domains, thus ruining the image of every superhuman around just because Seo wanted to play ugly. But nonetheless, all of it is in the past, so the president asks him if he can help the national team as a skills coach. His salary will be satisfactory too. But Seo MoonYeob cuts the president short and tells him that he wants to do something new now. Seo MoonYeob and Beck are traveling to get back home, and while in the car, Seo is calculating his current net worth, which is amounting to around 16 million bucks. Seo is considering buying a battlefield club, as he wants to teach and nurture kids to grow into proper players, leading to the national team's improvement. Baek Ji-ho taunts him that he was never this patriotic and the cheapest team is at least worth $20 million here. This patriotic tone smells fishy from the start. So he thinks of buying a team in the second division league and bringing it to the first league. Baek Ji-ho instantly deduces that Seo MoonYeob is not patriotic but lusting for money. When they reach the Beck residency, they get off only to be approached by Suman. She is here with her own motives. Seo MoonYeob, after checking her stats, which are all maxed out, along with her usual extinction ray superpower, and also with an additional superpower that she has learned identity position. Seo MoonYeob starts conversing with her and says she's trying to kill him here. She initially agrees but tells him that this is not the reason. Seo mentions that if it is due to past enmities, leave it, as he saved her from getting killed. She says that she has already forgiven him for the past resentments. So, this leads to the question of why she is here. She finally says she is here to check with her two eyes that Seo is finally back. As her confirmation is done, she departs immediately. Seo MoonYeob is utterly confused at this sight. He still asks why she came to him. Maybe she is a nut job or left a spying chip on Seo. Shuren looks back at him and remembers the old days when Seo MoonYeob scolded and bullied her, and while crying in a corner, she was attacked by a monster. But yet again, our hero's shining armor saved Shuren, and since then, she has had a crush on Seo MoonYeob. Seo MoonYeob receives his $16 million from all the sources, so now he starts wondering what club he should buy at the end. Baek Ji-ho is really curious about how he knows how to do mobile banking, and on top of that, he's even more curious about his decision to buy a battlefield club. Seo claims that he will use this as a hobby. Although Baek Ji-ho tells Seo that he will do good, it will still take more money than he has. He straight up offers to buy Seo, a first division team, and without any hesitation. He denies his offer as there is no fun in playing with the unlimited money glitch. Seo MoonYeob inquires about the KB7 League, where 7 team members are assigned instead of the traditional 11 members. And since the maintenance cost is low here, this league is better in cost effectiveness. Baek Ji-ho tells him that although this league exists, people still prefer going to KB2 clubs instead of KB7. So with that done, Seo MoonYeob decides to buy a KB2 team, but he has yet to learn what to do. He only asks the association president to help him here. On a call with the president, he is thrilled that Seo MoonYeob is becoming a club owner. The president also welcomes this idea and fully accepts the denial of the skills coach offer. The desperation of the president speaks volumes here. So, with that done, Seo MoonYeob asks him about clubs on offer. The president tells him about 3 clubs on sale, with one having an urgent sales notice. Seo MoonYeob further inquired about it. Outside the KB2 Battlefield Stadium, a man witnesses the billboard of 2 teams clashing, GT Knights versus Hunjong Industries going on within the stadium. With a few spectators cheering on for GT Knights, he sits between them as none should be able to recognize him as it is none other than Seo MoonYeob himself. Considering that the national team performed poorly, Seo MoonYeob ponders that the second-tier league standards would be even lower. However, It would be a welcome surprise if there were at least one competent individual in the mix. So, he uses his eyes of analysis on the down-spirited Hunjong Industries team, and after a pile of really trashy players, 3 players catch his eye well. Namkoon Ji-hoon, with a superpower Protect, but with attributes that might turn him into a good dealer and make him a good option. No Chum-won, similar to Chae Woo-yeon in the national team, has a decent superpower. Lee Na-yoon, with averagely decent stats, if her speed can max out at 100, then her jump superpower could make her a good player. After an hour, the match finishes, and GT Warrior whitewashes Hunjong Industries in both sets. This makes Seo MoonYeob all set to buy this team. So 2 days later, the association makes the necessary arrangements and the deal is done for the transfer of ownership for the team. He really got the team for dirt cheap. The president congratulated Seo MoonYeob for buying the club, and then asks him how he will operate the club. He says he will let it function as usual and look for new team players. With that said, he asks for his departure from the president and leaves on his newly bought motorcycle. Fast and Furious XV enters the chat. He takes his bike and legit flies it on the expressway like he does not care for his life. Everyone is swearing and cursing at him for this ridiculous behavior. But then everyone finds out it is Seo MoonYeob, so they change their demeanor and justify his actions. And everyone says that one could do anything if they were Seo MoonYeob. Seo MoonYeob reaches the Hunjong Industries clubhouse, and the scenario is rather eerie, with crows sitting all around. Looks more like a graveyard than a facility. Then, a man from behind confronts him that he is trespassing, only to realize it is the new club owner. He introduces himself as the coach, Choi Dong-jun. Seo MoonYeob wondered whether he possesses superhuman abilities as well, prompting him to activate his analytical vision. The analysis reveals that while most of his stats are ordinary, his aura level is at its peak. His superpowers suggest to Seo MoonYeob that he could serve as valuable support. They have a little chit-chat between them then. Afterward, Seo MoonYeob looks around the building and asks Choi Dong-jun to guide him. So he shows Seo MoonYeob around all the rooms thoroughly. With that done, Seo MoonYeob is satisfied that the place has all the necessary equipment. Finally, they check the training center, which is only 11 modules instead of the required 14. But Choi exclaims that they could not buy it due to their lack of money. Now, Seo MoonYeob decides to have a chat with the players, so he orders Choi Dong-jun to call them right away. Lee Na-yoon comes and meets him first. Seo figures out that she is practicing the bow and arrow due to the callousness on her fingers, which leaves her stunned. Although her dexterity and speed are elite, her lack of strength is the main worrying factor, and her skills are not improving no matter how hard she tries. He then assures her that she will be on the starting lineup, with the concept being of the Saint Tail, as she will be the one stealing the sanity of the opponent. Lee Na-yoon is asked if she cannot improve no matter how hard she tries, to which Seo MoonYeob laughingly says that he will make her the core player for the team. He sees talent in her and asks that it is for archery that she will become the best marksman. He reminds her that talent is running, and combined with the jump superpower, things will get better. If she causes a problem for the enemy by shooting arrows, she will steal all their kills. And if they pursue her, she can just start running again to avoid all problems. In short, she will be playing as the controller. But this will be her sole focus. If they try to catch her, she only needs to run away. And that is all. But she will only get into real matches after speed hits a certain threshold. She is going to set some opposite standards in the market. I am telling you all. She asks if that will lead her to be a core player, and he says this might even lead her to the national team. She gets delighted and jumpy at this news and thanks Seo MoonYeob, and promises him that she will give her best. Manipulation and persuasion go hand in hand here. Now, Seo MoonYeob orders her to call the next player, Namkoon Ji-hoon. He enters the room and Seo MoonYeob cannot help but laugh a bit at his skinny physique. He asks why he is here. So Seo says he is no longer a support. Namkoon is adamant that he will be a support, but in the end, Seo wins the argument. From now on, Namkoon Ji-hoon is a melee dealer, considering his talent for swordsmanship. Namkoon further states that his reaction speed and dexterity are too low, but receives an answer that he falls to the back to use his superpower. Namkoon again says that support is not a wrong position. He has a bad habit of talking back, just like the young kids today. Seo says he hates supporters the most as 9 out of 10 do not even fight, and the team is practically playing with a man down. But 1 out of 10 can be the perfect support since they have at least 2 superpowers, as they can do their job pretty well. But here, Namkoon can only use protection as his superpower. With that said, Seo MoonYeob assigns him a new weapon and a new position. His adamantness regarding his position reappears, and he asks if he is a supporter who now uses swords. Soo grabs him by the shirt and tells him he is now a dealer with a supporting superpower. This nerd really needs some schooling here. His determination to stay as a support knows no bounds, as he might be scared to fight in the front. Soo scolds him, saying he will not progress with this mindset and needs to listen to Soo for improvement. But after some persuasion and proper dealing by Soo, Numkong finally agrees to become the melee dealer for the team, as both finally shake hands like real men. Done with the meetups, the coach, Choi Dong-jun, meets Soo. Soo instantly orders Choi to grab a swordsmanship instructor to teach Numkong Ji-hoon, as his new position as melee dealer. Soo will also teach Lee Na-yoon how to run, so Choi needs to prepare himself for that. He also orders Choi to get the endurance of the first squad kids. They got pushed back against GT Knight's Dubilo endurance. Now, he prepares to leave the clubhouse while considering what to change the team's name to. The next day at the Beck residency, he is tense about something, an uncharacteristic trait of Seo MoonYeob. Beck Jiho tries to converse, but he tells him not to talk with him. Jiho asks him, as he is not even watching a drama. Some tension may be due to the Hunjong Industries team going around. Jiho tells him there are only 14 players, and he will get only what is necessary. This gives Seo MoonYeob an idea, and he recruits some players for his team. So, he calls Choi Dong-jun to add some new players to the roster. But Choi adds that the funds should be tight enough for that. So promises to buy Choi a module, too, if he gets some players, as in the eyes of Soo, they are relatively cheap. Although angry over his cheapskate behavior, he orders Choi to start recruiting players for the next 3 days. Seo MoonYeob grabs the balcony railing and jumps down while still talking on the phone as if nothing happened. The dude does elite-level parkour as if he breathes air. Choi raises another problem. Since they are a second division team, 3 days are too few. But Seo MoonYeob says he has an idea for all this. Seo MoonYeob gets out of the mansion and addresses the journalists and reporters waiting for him with their armada of questions. He plans to answer all their questions but has a request for them in return. And the request is that his team publicly recruit players for 3 days, so they must write that they are looking for many applicants. Just like the careful citizen he is, Seo MoonYeob picks up a call from Choi Dong-jun while riding his bike. And guess what? The resumes are flooding in, although not as high as Soo expected. But still, they receive 70+ resumes, and that too when it is not even transfer season. He tells Choi to get the resumes because he will do the selection independently. Seo MoonYeob gets to the office and is presented with all the resumes. He starts picking up the resumes one by one, and he checks the stats mentioned on each sheet of the individuals, as they have the physical stats of the player. Seo MoonYeob is frustrated by the trashy stats on the resumes. Also, he cannot judge the individual potential by looking at resumes alone. Nonetheless, he still digs through them to find worthy candidates, and Jo Sung-ho catches his eye this way. Seo MoonYeob likes his ability to deliver objects and his view to another person, but he is merely 1.5 times better than an average Olympic gold medalist. The day of recruitment finally comes, and the interviews finally begin. The first interviewee is Kim Jin-ho. Although he played Battlefield in high school, he dropped the game after graduation. Soo inquires that maybe he has changed his mind, but Kim is only here to see Soo with his own eyes just because he's a die-hard fan. Seo MoonYeob instantly tells him to buzz off, and the glue in his eyes becomes prominent as his hero is agitated by him. He tries to blackmail him by exposing this behavior of his, but Soo, a bit mad, shuts his yappy mouth up by throwing a stapler at him. The guards remove the unconscious kid, and he orders the next candidate to come in. Jo Sung-ho walks in, and although Choi Dong-jun raises some concerns regarding his lowly stats, he immediately asks why he is interested in this guy. Seo MoonYeob knows well enough that although his physical stats are of no use, his 3 superpowers, to deliver objects to a known target within 3 kilometers, to deliver a vision to a known target within 3 kilometers, and to deliver aura to a nearby target, will prove to be vital. The Deliver Aura superpower is rare and has a high tactical use. He probably does not know about this power since it has yet to be awakened. Considering Jo and Na-yoon, the combo might become explosive, which might be crossing his mind regarding the team. Seo MoonYeob asks Jo Sung-ho that he is only a delivery driver in his career, which means he has never played Battlefield. He denies it and says that the delivery driver is his only occupation. Stucky further asks what motivated him to apply here even though his stats are not top-notch. Jo Sung-ho replies that he is well aware of his garbage stats, but becoming a Battlefield player is one of his childhood dreams. And as the saying goes, no dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. Initially, he used these low stats as a reason to give up, but now he's applying with more sincerity than anyone else, a guy with a proper aim till the end. Now, Seo MoonYeob asks if he can use his object delivery power when he is far away. He agrees and says that he can do a max of 2.5 kilometers, to which only Seo knows that he can do a max of 3. Seo further asks him about his transferring procedure to a target he cannot see. So Jo Sung-ho tells him that he senses their general position by spreading his aura within his ability range and then making contact with them. Ultimately, he still needs to search for them manually throughout the area. On top of that, he can use the ability to scout as well, making him more than useful for the team. Seo finally finds the nun who can help the saint. With that said, Jo Sung-ho is finally in the team, as he will become a perfect partner for Lee Na-yoon. And from now on, the team will center around these two people. So the Thief Girl and the Dark Nun combo is finally complete. In the evening, the Hunjong Industries team throws a party to be led by their new owner, Seo MoonYeob, and to a new start. They drink to all their liking, and the atmosphere is energetic here. The team captain, No Jung-won, approaches Seo MoonYeob, although his stats are too good to be on this team. He thanks Seo MoonYeob for investing heavily in the team. He swears that the players will give their best and not disappoint him. Seo only says they should feel free due to him, as he is not looking for instant results right now. No bows his head in gratitude and is hopeful for future guidance and cooperation under Seo. Seo understands that No is perfect to be a leader from his demeanor. From the corner of his eye, he also sees that Lee Na-yoon and Jo Sung-ho are getting well together. Seo calls the both of them towards him. He calls both of them a set menu, so they need to be friendly with each other. Even more so, turn them into lovebirds. Seo explains to the set menu that in the drama Saint Tale, a dark nun controls the background and is critical for giving information. In short, Jo Sung-ho is that nun here. He ends this conversation, too, as he will tell them the details later. Now, his attention shifts to renaming the team from Hunjong Industries. He asks for everyone to be attentive as Seo announces the name. And the new team name is... Fast forward 3 months and the team name is decided to be YSM. It is their first match after the change of ownership. In the locker room, Seo MoonYeob reminds everyone to do as practiced, especially for Sung-ho to stick to the tactics. So now is finally showtime, as everyone moves out to show their 3 months of training. Seo MoonYeob has invited Mrs. Ji-ho to the first match, and she is grateful to watch her first match in a long while. She has sometimes watched Haeyeon, but not in matches starring Ji-ho. Ji-ho has only told his wife for the team to get better before she witnesses them. She then asks if Seo and his team are better, and he only tells her to look forward to it. The match will be super entertaining, because these are kids from his own backyard now. The first set begins in the Wizard Canyon. It is a serene and beautiful place, full of places to have land, air, and water battles. And it requires complete adaptability from the players, rather preferable for tourism than life or death battles. In a flashback from 3 months ago, Lee Na-yoon and Jo Sung-ho are showing extraordinary advancements in their training. As both have been handpicked by Seo MoonYeob, the coach praises Seo for his finds but only tells him to focus on the players and take good care of them. Seo further tells the coach that Lee Na-yoon will get better by fixing her running posture, and she might as well start playing real soon. And during battles, she did show her prowess, as she successfully stole kills and ran away without breaking a sweat. This only leads to the other team with a broken spirit. Seo praises Lee Na-yoon for her excellent work, but this only makes her even more anxious, as she was a permanent sub for the lowest ranked team in the 2nd division. With a promise of becoming a core and national player shortly, this only makes her overthink many things, and this thought process is even going on mid-match. Her teammate calls her during the match, and she only returns to reality shortly afterward. He asks her if she is nervous, although it is prominent, but she tries to deny it. He still calms her down, citing that it is ought to be like this. He claims it is ought to be nervous, but one should not doubt their skills since the leader of 7 heroes believes in Lee Na-yoon, and she will be the reason the enemy team will lose spirit. And since they are playing with the name of Seo MoonYeob on their back, they are technically moving around with the name of a deity on them. They will give it their all and hold their names high. Now, they initiate their battle tactics and move ahead. They are using the 4-4-3 battle strategy. The vanguard of 3 is not hunting, but instead running across the dungeon. It might be a particular tactic. After climbing some rocks in the air, they suddenly stop. Here Sung-ho uses his power to deliver objects to find the opponents and their locations within his range. Once his scouting is complete, he finds out the 4 players. Park Jong-hyuk, Choi Young-hil, Jung Yoon-dae, and Im Ji-wook all run above the trio. So, Lee Na-yeon prepares to use her jumping superpower to ambush the unknowing enemies. She performs some acrobats and reaches them, only to witness the enemy team fighting monsters. They are fighting it out against giant fire-breathing wyvern. As the opponent team finally goes in for the final blow, Lee Na-yeon shoots her arrow and steals the hunting point, just like those goddamn campers in PUBG. The enemy team decides not to let their resolve be shaken. Im Ji-wook is assigned to take care of Lee Na-yeon. He approaches to kill her, but she runs away with her speed. She starts toying around with him. All the players are trolls here, just like their owners. A Tom and Jerry chase begins between them, and Im Ji-wook cannot do anything except feel helpless since he is a slowpoke. Her speed is eating away at their sanity, as they cannot touch her. During this chase, she is constantly shooting arrows too, and once they end, she calls for more, using the power of Jo Sung-ho. The commentators further comment that Jo Sung-ho quickly became a core player within 3 months due to these teleportation powers. And considering the nature of his role in the dungeon, Jo Sung-ho can chill out for the entirety of the match as he lays down on a bed sheet reading manhwas mid-battle, making a complete mockery of the opponent team. Now, these are acts Seo MoonYeob would be proud of. A few weeks prior, during the YSM practice matches, Lee Na-yeon is flying high and mighty in her usual activities mid-match, as she easily steals kills on the get-go. Seo MoonYeob deduces that they should not have a problem with Lee Na-yeon going into a game like this, but the problem lies with Jo Sung-ho, as he always needs help finding the perfect hiding place, as it might cause delays in providing the necessary supplies to Lee Na-yeon. So, they decided to make Namkoon Ji-hoon the guard for Jo Sung-ho, since his protective ability will save both of them from dying mid-battle. Finally, the skinny maestro will have a better use. Since Jo Sung-ho might look pitiful hiding from enemies, Seo MoonYeob makes it funny by making him read manhwas mid-battle, and it for sure makes it look like a complete violation of the other team. Inside the game, a battle goes on before Jo Sung-ho as Namkoon Ji-hoon fights against the baby wyvern. Trying to kill that beast, Jo Sung-ho lazes around like it's a feast. He really does not have a care in the world, just turning pages here and there. The opposing team fans are frustrated at this humiliation. Anyone would be, though. Jo Sung-ho sends more arrows to Lee Na-yeon, while Sue and Mrs. Ji-ho laugh at the entire situation from the outside. Seo MoonYeob flexes that his skills are picking out talent like that. Mrs. Ji-ho also asks him to help her husband, to which he says he has already done plenty. He already told him to drop Shim Young-soo and replace him with Choi Hyuk as the tank, but Ji-ho is not doing what he is told to do. Mrs. Ji-ho adds that there is some friction regarding the Choi Hyuk matter, but she needs to learn the details. Soo decides to ask Ji-ho for the details later on. He only taunts him that he does not know how to be a good coach, which he does. Meanwhile, in the match, Lee Na-yeon is rounded up by more members of the Incheon BC. 5 players simultaneously try to kill her. While running away, Jo Sung-ho communicates with her to go to a specific route. She goes that way and finally starts to accelerate. While she is beginning to speed up, she thinks about how she just faced real dealers in a real game. And then she reminisces over the words of Sue and her captain that she will indeed be of utmost importance to the team. With that done, she starts hopping backward at high speeds, which reminds me of those moon rabbits in Japanese folklore, only mocking the others that they are too slow. 6 players try to attack her from the back as she runs away. She dodges and finally jumps off that particular rock. As she looks back, she is still being pursued. They know that leaving her free for more extended periods will increase the hunting points gap between them, and before they know it, the gap will be too broad. So, they will end it here and will not spare her. Lee Na-yeon is surrounded from all sides as she stands on the edge of the rock. She cannot even jump down from it. She starts acting so that she cannot jump down mockingly while sounding all jolly. The Incheon BC members are confused at this sight as they do not know what she is spewing, but that is where their gravestones are marked, and suddenly, a vast rock appears with 6 YSM members stuck on it. Lee Na-yeon trolls them back, saying they will not spare them either. She mockingly winks at them with a kawaii face, and they begin a massacre on these rocky islands. The UISM players jump off the moving island, and now the UISM side, who have finished powering up, and the Incheon BC, who have lost their hunting time, are finally facing off. One by one, the standing players of the Incheon BC are killed off, and the remaining players who finally arrive cannot do much other than increase the opponent's kill count. And finally, UISM comes out victorious in the first set. What a story of redemption for the team. The lowest-rated team for the longest time in the league has finally won its first set. The combination of Lee Mei-yoon and Jo Sung-ho is one for the ages, as their duo is outshining others, and their tactics are one for the history books. People only look forward to seeing how they will perform together. As these two walk out, the crowd only chants their names as the two MVPs for the match finally prove their mettle on the big stage. Seo MoonYeob smiles and throws a thumbs up at Lee Mei-yoon, talking about his words that he will indeed make her a core player. Lee Mei-yoon smiles back at Seo MoonYeob with a sparkle in her eye. The first set ends with USM coming out victorious after a brilliant display of skills. Incheon, BC only started to fall apart rapidly, as even in the second set, their mentality was affected drastically as they also lost that set. USM outclassed Incheon BC by winning both sets without a single death, and the MVP of the match is none other than our grasshopper diva, Lee Mei-yoon. Lee is only grateful to Seo MoonYeob in the post-match presentation, as his advice made her do everything in the match. This victory also set the internet ablaze. Everyone is going wild. Every individual is in awe of Lee Mei-yoon. But do not let it overshadow the efforts of the Dark Nun at the back, Jo Sung-ho, the hero with a crappy physical but outstanding skill for deliverance. This match ended up shooting these superheroes to fame, but the one who created this duo is catapulted to new heights, too. His insights reminded people that he was an absolute genius. The Pep Guardiola of Battlefield is in the house. A few days after the match at the Baek residency, Baek Ji-ho asks Seo MoonYeob if he really discovered the talent of Jo and Lee. Seo MoonYeob affirms that he would never eat away at the efforts of Dongjun for his fame, and these two are genuinely his pupils. He then claims that his eyes are the eyes of God. So, Baek only asks if he can help with these in the national team, to which Seo tells Baek to convince Choi Hyuk to become the tank. But that adamant kid is not complying because he wants to play with the Taejuk mark on him. Seriously, Choi Hyuk is more stubborn than those nosy kids playing Tetris. The boss, Baek Ji-ho, further mentions that most of the Korean Battlefield coaches do not even like him, as he is the national coach just because of his former glory. Yada yada yada. Seo MoonYeob only states that they will definitely stay silent in front of him when he, the self-proclaimed best coach of the century, walks in. They cannot say for crap, as he will beat them up. Out of the blue, Seo MoonYeob asks for the price of Choi Hyuk from Baek. Do not worry, it is for a transfer to the club, nothing naughty. The scene transitions to present some news. 5 consecutive victories for YSM under his new leadership. The internet again goes wild over this news as the Seo MoonYeob effect occurs. Choi Dongjun and Seo MoonYeob are sitting and celebrating this together. Choi cries tears of joy as he never thought the team would perform this well, considering the team never even had 3 wins in a row ever before. But now the Rusty Cannons have finally fired. But after the Miracle or the Wizard Canyon disaster, the internet has been filled inside out with Mei-yoon and her name, with fan clubs and simps going wild. Choi only tells Seo that it was due to his thinking this was happening. Seo MoonYeob takes a hit at Choi regarding his initial questions about running being effective in matches. Choi instantly apologizes, as he now knows that Seo is the boss for a reason. Seo MoonYeob reminds Choi that now is not the time to rejoice, and now they need to think of countermeasures against Jo Sung-ho. Most teams would have figured out how to bring him out of the equation. Choi replies that protecting Sung-ho would require some good tactics. Let us gift wrap Sung-ho and hide him somewhere. Even so, if Numkoon Ji-hoon and No Jung-won start getting better with training, USM will not crumble that easily in the future. Seo MoonYeob is happy to see Choi Dongjun confident in his team. With that said, he ordered to bring up the team winning rate to 50% by the end of the first half of the year. A gloomy, flustered aura overcomes him because he knows it is almost impossible, but hesitantly agrees it is still similar to finding hay in a pile of needles. The team leader knows that it would have been impossible if it were the Hanjong Industries from before, but now it looks very achievable. Although Seo might look stubborn, he knows his words and actions are all calculated. The team leader owes his rise in Battlefield to Hanjong Industries, as they are the ones who supported him throughout the way. And although the name is changed now, he will still work hard to repay their kindness. Now, Seo MoonYeob stops nagging and bullying Choi Dongjun and stands up to address everyone. He announces that if they pull the team's winning rate to 50% before the end of the first half of the season, he will invest that much into the team since everyone is showing potential. With that said, Seo MoonYeob decides to leave the hall. Choi Dongjun wishes him a safe trip home. But still, There's only one thing bugging Seo MoonYeob: recruiting more, better players. This club is going to be renamed Manchester City real soon. Another problem is that if opponents aim for Jo Seon-ho instead of Lee Na-yoon, their tactics will go in the gutter. So, the team requires better resources for diverse strategies. There are so many checklists to be marked, but with never-ending problems. Or they could do 11 versus 11 practice matches within the team for improvements. Also, one thing to be noted is that they are not receiving applications because of the team's performance, but only because Seo MoonYeob is its owner. Simpson fans trying to apply from everywhere. But in the end, grabbing good players still remains a problem. Seo MoonYeob definitely wants Choi Hyuk on the team. Seo receives a message to check out rising talents from the remaining players of the Youth League who still need to sign with other teams. Stoke thinks of recruiting them after the first half of the season ends. Back to the league games, and the winning streak of Lee SM ends at 6 victories, just like Seo MoonYeob predicted, as the other teams figured out how to deal with the Lee and Jo double threat. Short-lived tactics, short-lived victories. But still, during all this, Lee SM found some composure with their captain, No Jung-won. As their zooming play became less effective, they persevered with new tactics and somehow hung on with their endurance. The YSM team, which started dead last in the league after 18 games, with 10 victories and 8 losses, ended at 11th rank at the first halfway point of the season, with a winning percentage of 55.6. Finally, the summer break arrives, and now is the time to recruit more players. So Seo MoonYeob visits the Yeonmyeon High School Battlefield Division. He visits this place as the YSM club owner and meets with former high school coach Kim Jong-moon. He explains that his visit has a variety of aims, so he wants to look around. Kim Jong-moon politely agrees with him, so they proceed to go inside. Seo MoonYeob praises the facilities, although Kim Jong-moon says it is not much. Suddenly, someone catches his eye. He points at a guy and praises him. Kim Jong-moon tells him he will soon attend the KB1 League team, Future Phoenix. Although that person has average stats, Seo MoonYeob decides to leave him and search for unpicked talents with hidden talents around 90. So, he starts scouting everyone one by one. But in the end, all the teams selected all the big fish. In the following moment, another player enters, Beom, who is not practicing and only studying because he was offered no contract. So, Seo MoonYeob offers to shake hands with Beom, although Beom claims that Seo is notoriously famous for punching his fans. But Seo insists that he is okay, as they will become partners for a long time. So Seo MoonYeob extends his hand for a handshake and offers him a contract in YSM since he knows that his superpower, Shadow Step. The power entails a conditional awakening, granting a 20% increase in speed. Additionally, when the user's aura surpasses the 70 mark, he gains the ability to meld into and traverse through shadows, which will be more than enough to suffice